When you're working with vulnerable people, a volunteer's first day, it's so much more than just a welcome tour. You know, those first few hours are probably your single most important chance to protect your clients, to protect your organization, and to protect your entire mission.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? You got into this work to mentor, to heal, to build human connections. Your passion is about making a real difference, not getting stuck in administrative headaches.
It's a tough question, I know, but we have to ask it. What if the very systems you're using, or maybe the systems you aren't using, are quietly putting all that incredible work you do at risk?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right now.
So let's kick things off by looking at a problem that is honestly incredibly common, but it often flies under the radar until it's way, way too late.
Does this whole setup look a little familiar? We call it the patchwork problem. So many organizations are just stitching together different apps, a bunch of spreadsheets, even personal text messages to try and run things. Now, this isn't just messy, it's dangerous. It creates these little cracks where crucial compliance details fall through, communication just breaks down, and serious liability starts to creep in.
So, how do we fix this? Well, it all starts by completely reframing how we think about a volunteer's first day. This is not an orientation. Think of it as a critical, strategic window of opportunity. And this, right here, is the key takeaway. From the second they walk through that door, you are building a foundation. Every single document they sign, every policy you walk them through, it's like a brick in the wall that protects your clients and your organization from any future risk.
We actually call this the day one differentiator, and it does two really distinct things. First, there's legal deflection. This is all about creating that rock-solid paper trail of compliance. And second, and this is just as important, it's about psychological safety, setting those crystal-clear professional boundaries that keep the people you serve safe.
You know, this is also about making a really crucial cultural shift right on day one. A lot of volunteers, they show up with amazing intentions, but sometimes with a bit of a savior complex. This is your one and only chance to reset that mindset. You're not just getting some help. You are onboarding a professional stakeholder who gets the rules of engagement.
Okay, so let's build on that foundation, starting with the absolute non-negotiables. I want you to think of this next part as a compliance iron gate. Basically, no one gets through to interact with a client until these specific legal boxes are checked. Now, depending on where you operate, that gate is going to look a little different. In the US, you're really focused on things like mandated reporter training and the rule of two, which means never leaving a volunteer alone with a kid. In Canada, it's all about getting that physical vulnerable sector check verified and following workplace safety laws like the right to know.
And listen, the stakes here are unbelievably high. For instance, in most U.S. states, if a volunteer is a mandated reporter, they have a strict, legally binding timeline, often just 24 hours, to report any suspected abuse. They have to know this on day one. There's just no grace period on this.
This is exactly why digital tools are so critical now. If an allegation ever comes up, how do you prove you followed the rule of two? You need undeniable digital proof. A time tracker that shows exactly who checked in, who they were with, and when they checked out. All of a sudden, your timesheet just became your most important legal document. And of course, we've got to talk about the key signatures. This isn't just paperwork to be shoved in a file cabinet. The FCRA consent for background checks, that's a legal must-have. The volunteer service agreement, that protects you from wage claims by making it clear they're not an employee. And that handbook acknowledgement, that's your proof that they knew the rules.
Okay, so once you've passed through that legal iron gate, the next step is every bit as vital. This is all about culture and about preventing risk that doesn't come from bad intentions, but from well-meaning over-involvement.
Let's get really practical here. This is a question that every single youth program manager is going to face. A great volunteer wants to connect with their mentee on social media. I mean, what's the harm, right?
Well, the policy has to be a clear, unambiguous no. Period. And why? Because it completely blurs the lines between a professional, safe adult and a peer. That boundary is absolutely essential for the client's psychological safety, and you have to set it on their very first day.
And this idea extends to other areas too. Can they buy a gift? Can they offer a ride home? These seem like such kind gestures, but without a clear policy, gift giving can create dependency and transportation can become a gigantic insurance liability. You have to clearly define the volunteer's lane.
So, how do you say all this without discouraging your most passionate volunteers? You use a script, something exactly like this one. It starts by validating them, "We love your heart for this," while clearly and kindly explaining the why behind the rule. It totally reframes what being a friend means in this context. It means being a reliable, safe adult.
All right, we've seen the risks of that patchwork system, and we've walked through the most critical parts of a solid day one. So now let's look at the alternative. How do we get from that chaotic state to a truly integrated, secure ecosystem?
Well, the advantage is just night and day. A unified ecosystem means onboarding and compliance happens smoothly, all in one place, ready for an audit from the get-go. And with unified operations and communication, you can even use data to help you grow. Those cracks we talked about earlier, they're sealed up for good.
So here's the bottom line. Building a strong administrative and compliance foundation, it's not a distraction from your mission. It's actually the only way to truly protect it for the long haul. It frees you up to focus on what really matters, that human connection.
And that's the question I really want to leave you with today. The work you do, it's sacred. It literally changes lives. So is the process you use to bring new people into that work, is it being treated with that same level of importance?